Hello everyone and welcome to another Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 Theory video. And of course you've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail, you know that we are talking about Experiment 1006. And I do think we have a very strong theory in knowing who or what Experiment 1006 is based off, and what his final form is. But of course, before we go any further, I am going to warn you that this video will contain even more spoilers than the ones you've just received. But with that being said, I wouldn't be a YouTuber if I didn't ask you to hit that subscribe button if you like Poppy Playtime and theories, because that's what we do on this channel. We theorise about loads of games. So again, hit subscribe, it will really help me in the channel. And another way to support me is if you're planning on buying any Poppy Playtime merch at some point, then head on down into the description of this video. You will see my referral link and also my coupon. That coupon can get you 10% off your order from the Poppy Playtime merch store. Remember, it's capitals, it's just jawed. Right, shameless self-promotion out of the way, let's actually get into this video. So, let's quickly recap on what happened and fill the people in who haven't yet played or need a little reminder. After defeating Mommy Longlegs, you come to a corridor where at the end of the corridor is a locked door which you need to use the blue hand to open. You proceed to open the door using your blue hand, but as you wait for the door to unlock, Mommy Longlegs rushes down the corridor in hopes to grab you for that last split second. But as the door opens, you put your hand on the lever of the grinding machine. And as Mommy Longlegs gets her hand stuck for a moment in the machine, you pull the lever, sending her to her death. As she gets closer and closer to the machine's gripping clutches, she screams, "What have you done? He'll make me part of him. You can't do this to me." And thus the silence comes. And after that, the torso of her body falls to the floor, hitting it with a hollow type sound. And as you feel a sense of security, knowing that Mommy Longlegs has been defeated, a creature comes lurking out of the darkness and under the shutters. It's the Claw, Experiment 1006. He slowly flexes out his claw fingers and collects Mommy Longlegs like a piece of trash and slowly pulling her away while we watch in horror. And it's at this point we ask ourselves, is this what she was talking about? And that concludes the ending for Mommy Longlegs. So, what is this Experiment 1006, the prototype? Wow, when it comes to appearance, I think we can connect the prototype to Daddy Longlegs. And I say this because when Mommy Longlegs is in her attack appearance, you can see the shape of her size and hands has changed, and they look quite similar to that of the Claw. Not fully matching, but similar. Similar enough that there could be some type of connection, and thanks to the most recent release of Chapter 2, we have that connection because of the Mommy Longlegs and Daddy Longlegs, and what I could assume to be Baby Longlegs, as they are seen in a family poster, where it's actually called from the poster Mommy Longlegs and Family. In the poster it appears that Daddy Longlegs does look a little larger in proportion, but the real evidence and the theory is actually who the prototype is based off or made from. And I think this theory will give a very good attempt at answering this. So, who do I think Experiment 1006, the prototype, is? Wow, I think it's based off Elliot Ludwig himself. And let me tell you why. So first we have to understand who Elliot Ludwig is as a person and his history. Don't worry, we'll briefly go over that now. Elliot Ludwig was the creator of Playtime Co., and he founded it in 1930. Ludwig was a visionary, a creative genius. Ludwig devoted every waking second of his life to bring joy to children. However, this relentless work ethic came at a cost to his personal life, as his wife Molly divorced him in 1930. Despite this, as well as an unfortunate family death occurring later in his life, Elliot never stopped creating. Ludwig revolutionized the toy industry and brought happiness to millions. The world would never be the same. And that's pretty much the brochure explanation of Ludwig. But anyway, With that being said, we know that Elliot Ludwig was a family man, and it's explained in the introduction video with the VHS tape in his office, and that he was very persistent, never giving up on a project until it was done. We actually see the beginning of the method that Elliot Ludwig found to bring the toys to life, but we'll be talking about that in more detail in another video or explained video, because there is a lot of information in that. But from this we can see, as a person, he loved his family, loved children, and he was always working for good and striving to be ahead of the game. The VHS tape emphasizes on the tragic loss of a family member in the 1960s. While it doesn't give us an exact date, we can work with this, but I think we can theorize who he lost and what drove his dedication further. So, we know that Molly Ludwig, the wife of Elliot Ludwig, divorced him in 1930, as the description states, because of his sheer dedication to the research. It's mentioned that he was a family man, while not mentioning specifically what members were in the family, but I think we all know where this is going. If it was Molly Ludwig who died in the 1960s, they would have outright said it, because they haven't shied away from exposing or revealing her identity at all. So it must be someone we haven't heard of name-wise yet. More than likely though, it's for legal reasons. So this means that it would have to be someone quite young, because as we know, there is a large emphasis on marketing this time round in the chapter, which even has its own tape where they specifically talk about marketing. I'm going to go out on a limb and tie two things together by theorizing that Elliot Ludwig in the 1960s found a new partner and had a child, and lost the child. I might even say it was an accident in the factory, but I have no evidence to actually prove that, but it's just a hunch for now, until I think it gets revealed in chapter 3. Because of this, I think that child that tragically died in 1960s put inside of Poppy. Now of course it won't be physically, but perhaps her consciousness or a brain, for instance, and I know that sounds far-fetched, but so far I don't have reason to disbelieve it. Now we know that the accident did happen in the 1960s, and Poppy was in production in the 1950s, so it would have been the toy at the time that they were constantly building or reinventing. And of course, it would have been the perfect vessel for a daughter to uphold. And thus, this gives us the Poppy doll that we know now. Also, an additional bit of information that I find quite intriguing is Bunzo, and how he knows a specific birthday date, which is June 28th. Now, I'd like to go out on a limb here and assume that this was the daughter's birthday. Of course, we don't know the year as of yet. But can you imagine being the creator of all these toys and not having these toys know by default your daughter's birthday? It seems to me like that's quite a reasonable thought, and I think again we'll learn more about this in time and with more events that come in chapter 3, but it does get more pieces of this puzzle together, and quite frankly I welcome any information that's going to increase our knowledge about the lore. And one other thing is that the next stop in next chapter is actually called Playcare, which sounds quite like a play on daycare. And could this be a hint of what's going to happen with the children that did stay in the factory, or are we going to learn about these children? Because here's where I think it gets interesting. While Ludwig's method for creating and saving people has worked, what's now stopping him from creating that perfect family that you see on the postcards or the commercials? The ones that he missed out on when his wife divorced him and his daughter died. Perhaps that was the next big thing for Elliot Ludwig. A set of toys that brought the whole family together. The family Ludwig wish he had. And thus begins the creation of the Longlegs family. And who else would he base the father figure on other than himself? And so he creates the prototype, giving him all of the skills and feelings that Ludwig thinks he possesses for himself. And thus the prototype was born. But Ludwig didn't think about the repercussions. He underestimated the creation, the prototype. It was too smart for even him and the scientist, and thus we have the situation that we're in now. And because of Ludwig's need and want to save and create and pursue, I think this will explain the experiment's behaviour and why Mommy Longlegs said what she did at the end. The experiment will make her a part of his family again. How? That remains to be seen, but he has preserved her for a reason. This could also explain why there is no visual representation left of Ludwig and his face, as it's been removed from any graphic in the factory, so that everyone forgets the face. Perhaps this is the work of the experiment as a way of making sure he is Ludwig. Because perhaps even the prototype, the experiment, shares some of the consciousness and memories that Ludwig would have had to provide when making his own image into a toy. But to summarise, I think the claw was intended, or the very first prototype, to be Daddy Longlegs, or a toy created for or from Ludwig himself, and this is why it's very intelligent and problematic, as I believe this experiment is the one who sent Playtime Co. down the rabbit hole of problems, because realising that they couldn't contain it within the facility, more than likely, as we know from the VHS at the end of chapter 1, they decided to throw it away, just assuming it would die off so deep into the factory that it could never return. But 1006 didn't die. It was just biding its time, waiting for a chance, waiting to return to destroy its creators and all those that are connected with him. But anyway, everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. Remember to hit subscribe if you enjoyed this content and want to see more like it. And if you enjoyed this video specifically, make sure you drop a like and let me know what you think in the comments below. I really would love to hear what some of you have to think. But of course, I hope you have a lovely morning, day or night, wherever you are on this planet. And stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next theory video.